What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, and we got a special episode of the show for you. We're bringing back somebody that we try to bring on every once in a while when he finds a little crevice, because he is a crevice checker. That's what I've called him in the past. When he has time in his schedule, we bring him on. As you guys have noticed, this week we've hit a couple different 2-point prop combos. We hit a plus 700 last night after hitting a plus 1800 the night before, and I wouldn't truly know about these things in as much detail as I do if it wasn't for Josh Inglis. Pringles without the PR, as
the crevice checker.
Yeah, our resident crevice checker, who really, you are the person who like turned me on to those things. I care so much less now. I try to do it for everybody who watches the channel about the raw doggers, just because the variance in the NHL is absolutely wild. I believe every single team in the NHL has 6 mail-ins every single year where they just go, no, I'm not playing tonight. I know I'm supposed to. It's just not, and that's not in the cards tonight. We're all not doing it. We're taking a loss, and we're going on to the next game.
Was that the Islanders last night?
Well, they have a higher percentage mail-in than the norm. So Carolina's at the floor. Like, Brind'Amour refuses mail-ins, so they get 2 a year, and Isles get 15 a year. So there's a mail-in for, like, the Leafs, they come in with like a good 9 a year, something like that.
Tampa Bay's been mailing a few in lately too.
Oh, after the Cups, I called their season a mail-in. So after the two Stanley Cups, so nobody watched that Tampa team closer than me. I watched it even closer than Tampa fans, because that was the back-to-back Isles run that was ended in the Eastern Conference Final by Tampa back-to-back years. So I watched them play that following year where they still had a very good team. And I'm watching teams like Toronto and Boston and all these other teams have higher Stanley Cup odds than the team that I know the style that they were playing during the year. I go, this is out the window come playoff time, because they collapse in front of Vasilevsky. They block everything under the sun, and they're just not going to implement that for 82 games. What do? They sweep the President's Trophy winning Florida Panthers. They're just mowing through teams, and they mail in the majority of the season. They just don't have that squad anymore. But yeah, you can't blame them, man. They played 4 seasons in 3. So I still think they're dealing with the trickle-down lingering effects of that. But anyway, Josh is the guy who has really redirected me to so much of the prop stuff and getting away from needing the Winnipeg Jets to beat the Blackhawks tonight, to put down thousands of dollars to win about a shekel or two.
It's a hard market to win every night, playing on the totals, especially in hockey with bounces that, like, if you know hockey, like, puck luck is a massive thing. The correlation between what should happen versus what really happens in hockey, I think, is the biggest discrepancy between all major sports. You can handicap the crap out of a game, think it's going right, but so many things can happen within a hockey game and pretty much throw all those out. So I think there's a better angle, especially with more markets. Like, I know guys like, we'll probably bring them up, like assist markets are like plus 280 for some guys to get assists. I mean, there's still a lot more markets that you can dig into that are certainly ripe for the pickings.
1,000%. And even to go further into your point, you want a nice prime example last night. So I opened up talking about how I liked the under in the Carolina-Florida game. I just thought like that was a playoff precedent-setting game, and there was just not going to be easy goals. And then I went, you know what? This game, to me, I mean, Florida just played so, like, you play Tampa, then you come home and play that crazy game with the Senators. It's just so many big game after big game. I'm like, all right, you know what? Give me Carolina in that game. 2 minutes to go. Florida scores a goal to go up 1-0. Okay, that's the loss right there. Until offsides on a challenge. Then Florida hits a post with 40 seconds to go, and Carolina comes down the other way and scores. And he's a genius. He got the that's a loss, but it's a win. And that's what we're talking about when it comes to like picking these sides and stuff like that. There is such a high variance, and that's why I try to kind of look at different props and whatnot. And like we mentioned last time Josh was here, it's not like the NFL. You'll have a chance to get a good value on something. Like I'm nearly certain Josh will be talking about Villardi. And fortunately, we don't need him to say, like, we don't need him to open our eyes, because a couple games ago, once we saw that shift and they moved Ehlers off, that we were on it the very next game, he was plus money for a point, and then him and Connor together.
He was plus 140 for over 2.5 shots on Tuesday. He's even money now. I still like it because when he went on like a sick 8-0 run. Like when Connor went out, they brought him up to the line, and then he was playing with Ehlers and Scheifele on that top line. He went, I believe it was like 9-3 to the over on a shot total while Connor was out. And then Connor comes back in. Then they trade for Monahan, and they're trying to juggle the offense, trying to find the right fit for everybody. And over the last 3 games, he jumps up to that top line. And now he's got 4 shots on goal in 3 straight. And a big one to look at, like if I was to finally do some projections, one of the things that I would look at day to day is to see what players' time on ice is up or down over maybe a 5-game sample or a 3-game sample versus, let's say, the 10 games before that or their last 30 games, just to see whether there is an increase in role. And with Villardi now playing on that top line, we're getting plus 2 minutes per game, which is basically how you project better value versus what his standard price is. Was plus 140, even money for the over 2.5 right now, still good. Obviously, that's a big change, but the change in matchup is priced in heavily versus Chicago. Mrazek in his last 4 games, I think he's seen 36, 38, 41, and 42 shots. So there's a lot going there. And another great thing, we talk about game script in football and like a blowout. It's tough to get your big guns to get yards in a blowout. Bedard's back. This offense in Chicago is a little more sustainable. So we could see the Winnipeg offense, which is really on fire right now. I think they got like 6 power play goals over the last 2 games. They could be more engaged throughout the entirety of the game as opposed to this Chicago team without Bedard, where it's like 4-1, 3-1, and the big guys don't need to play big minutes. But before, man, that Villardi over 2.5 shots where he was in that same role, that was like minus 160-ish. So I still think there's value here on that over, despite the change from 140 to even money.
And that's what I was saying. Like, if this was the NFL, the minute we talked about this on the show and the minute that you guys all bet that the following night, that's it. You got your one game, and they're pissed off that you even enjoyed one.
Yeah,
gone. Hockey, you get 2 to 3.
100%.
Before they go, okay, enough is enough. We now know what you're doing. So, I mean, this is why some of this stuff is so important. Like that line.
That change is one of the biggest moves I've seen, because as you just said, usually the change is like, I keep always bringing back the Jonathan Drouin idea of like when he jumped up to that top line before. So like for him to get a point, he was like plus 110 when he started. And then every game it was like 5 points down, 5 points down. But it was a slow trickle down to where it should be about minus 160 if he's playing on that top line in PP1. But with Villardi, we just saw a 40-point movement, which is not something you usually see in props.
Now, something I want to tell people, a lot of these things that we tell you here, a lot of things that I say, they're like the rules with vowels, you know, like, oh, I before E except after C, you know, there's an exception here. That's why baloney is pronounced the way that it is. So when it comes to I know that sounds ridiculous, but we're going to tell you things like that. But then if I hear that Anthony Cirelli is on the Tampa's top line, to me, that means nothing, because I know Cooper. Cooper is one of the vowel exceptions. If he doesn't like how something's going after 20 minutes, he'll scrap the whole thing.
Same with Montgomery and Boston. If they're trailing, they stack up their top lines.
Yes. So pregame, if you hear certain teams like, oh, you know, this team in practice, they're trying this guy on the first line. Sometimes, most of the time, that has a lot of merit. They're not just going to try something out for a week in practice and then can it in one period. But some of these teams, especially teams that have been together a long time, like Tampa, if something's not working, they're not embarrassed to just reshift it around.
Yeah.
So I guess you got to know the exceptions when it comes to, I guess that's partially why we're here, to try to kind of
a lot of it when I'm hunting stuff like on the line stuff and like to get validity, because it's not cut and dry. You just don't go to Daily Face Off and you're like, oh, that's the line. No, like you need to do some homework on it. Teams coming off wins, if that's the line, probably going to stay the same way. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Applies to stuff like that. But if you're seeing something like that and the team got blown out, then you're probably going to see an adjustment. Or maybe you saw a team get blowout and, as you said, juggled the lines during the game. And now Daily Faceoff is showing you the line that maybe played maybe the last, I don't know, 5 minutes that they stack the line and that's the line, but they'll go back. There are some nuances in finding out the validity within those daily face-off.
Yeah, that's the daily face-off penalty, by the way. If you want to be lazy and not like double check your work, because the primary source for daily face-off is like pregame, they go to those beat reporters. So that the best thing you should do is figure. I know it's a lengthy process. This isn't the NFL. So the upside is you get 3 games for Villardi. The downside is you got to track down some random guy who you probably make more money than. He gets probably paid in shekels. He gets paid less than what you'd make betting $100 on the Winnipeg Jets money line tonight. You got to find this guy, follow him, and then hope the line combinations are good.
Yeah.
Fortunately, since I've started everything here on the channel, people kind of funnel stuff to me, and then I can sort through which ones are good or not good. But it's a lot to kind of keep track of. But anyway, the Villardi stuff is still there, and I think maybe we can start, not fully, but maybe semi-shifting out of the, okay, Winnipeg, it's every team under 2.5. I mean, they're scoring, and usually when you score, you feel like you don't gotta just close the door on everything, or else it's going to be a loss. So it's weirdly enough, the offense opens up the offense for the other team, as weird as that is. And I almost feel like that's the case in football too. So
on the over, if we're sticking on that Winnipeg-Chicago game, I mean, the over, don't often see overs 5.5, minus 105 to the over, but that's kind of where we are in that game. If Chicago, if we can pencil Chicago for 2 goals, now that Winnipeg's scoring, I mean, they had the worst shooting percentage by far over the last 30 days. They weren't scoring much. Minus 105 for the over, 5.5. Bro, that's like
crazy.
An Islanders St. Louis game circa 2021. That's wild. Winnipeg's scoring now. Chicago's got Bedard back. It's a different offense. And we've seen Connor Hellebuyck not be elite. Like, it's hard to play at that level for that long. And we might see kind of a switch to them being more successful offensively than defensively, where they've been using that to win games.
So that's the game that I probably would have hoped for, the most kind of assistance coming from you, because those are the ones when you see like a big fat minus 300 or something like that, that's where you kind of got to be that crevice guy and see what you could find in between. So it's a potential over.
There's Ehlers is banged up, so he wasn't at practice on Thursday. So Alex Iafolo would be the guy to jump into that top line. So there's something to watch there. I'm not sure if he has any markets. He probably doesn't, so it's tough. But if you're looking for any markets, if you're looking to stack anything on the Chicago side, it's basically just Bedard, Foligno, and Philip Kurashev is the line. Those are the guys together. See, there's the point for minus 105 for Kurashev. I know you like center winger combos. Kurashev, Bedard, probably not a bad one there. In the game that both start giving Chicago much hope.
Last Saturday, they hit the 2-point combo against Ottawa. So I guess we'll get into that shortly when we about these next 2 games, because those kind of they just feel like they might present opportunities. But what I try to do when I'm looking at those kind of things, the center winger combo, to me, a big component is, all right, who are you playing? And for some weird reason, only because Winnipeg is starting to score more and they're on their own home ice. I mean, they just bagged points against Carolina on the road, which is not really an easy feat. You can go ask Florida last night. So, I don't think Bedard and Kurashev are off the table whatsoever. And I got a chance to watch a little more of Kurashev. He's not a full scam. Like when I used to see the Islanders have Tavares, who almost had 100 points, play with Matt Molson, an AHLer who had back-to-back 30-goal seasons because he played alongside Prime Tavares. Kurashev's not a full scam. When he was out, I saw him really display some skill. So I kind of like him a little bit.
I'm looking at my watch list on eBay right now, and I'm looking at a RPA of him right now that's ending in 47 minutes for $30. And like I like him a lot right now. Like he will be there if they draft another forward, if they get maybe Macklin Celebrini or something, like that's going to be the line. Kurashev stays. Foligno's not going to be your top line guy. I think they give Kurashev a longer leash, and there could be a little budding with him and Bedard.
Before we go to the next game, I wanted to ask you something. This is something that was kind of brought up to me, and I said, I would have a hard time believing that wouldn't be a benefit. Let me casually bring this up. When you see a coach go with 11-7, and for people who don't really know hockey, usually you carry 3 pairs of defensemen, 4 lines of forwards. Each line of forward there's 3 forwards on a line, 2 defensemen on a line. But sometimes they go 1 forward short and carry an extra defenseman. Does that affect your shots on goal favorability?
It's basically pricing everything as shots per minute played, right? Points per minute played. And if you're rolling with 7 defensemen, you take a shot. You decrease the defenseman, obviously, in terms of average ice time in that game. And talking to Carlo about it, no defenseman likes ever playing with the 7. You just lose continuity with your pair and everything, and it's ugly. On the other side, top 6 forwards will probably get more run, and probably it's not priced in as much, and you might find some more value, especially with the centers.
Okay, it's something that I've been thinking about recently that I'll take a couple calculated stabs at.
Defensemen hate it. Defensemen absolutely hate it.
Well, on the totem pole, we know where where their priorities lie.
Yeah.
Okay, defensemen are thought of.
I know. I'm not out there running and betting a lot of defenseman stuff. Bouchard had 18 shot attempts, and we'll get to him later. He had 18 shot attempts in the last game, 16 at even strength. He might be one.
Not in terms of betting, just more so overall. It's like, what do the defensemen have to say about this?
No, let's hear. Let's hear what they care about.
We'll get to their opinions in a little bit. Remember when they tried playing forward when they were younger? Yeah. They're like the NHL's version of cornerbacks who couldn't be wide receivers. All right, so these other 2 games for most of the Pirates who roam these waters, I feel like are going to present opportunities. So the other day I said one of these 2 games between Buffalo and the Canadiens or Anaheim and Columbus, one of them's going off. I just don't know which one it is. So I'm going to sprinkle some on both and hope it works out on one of them, that we can get paid out to pay out enough to cover both of the games and more. And that one was obviously the Columbus-Anaheim game. My theory is with these, without the pressure of playoffs there and knowing you can play freely and without all that, you're more likely to get these wacky-ass games between these like bottom tier teams. You saw it over the weekend with San Jose, who can't score against anybody, and then Columbus. That one was like 3-3, 4-3 in the third or something like that.
Anaheim, Columbus.
Yeah, from the other night. Exactly. So it's hard to say definitely, but when you look at the ingredients of a witch's brew, these are 2 of them, right? We've seen Columbus getting 2 against bottom tier teams, and 2 straight games I went with Skinner and Tage for like a line mate combo.
Skinner finally got going.
Yeah. So didn't work out 2 games ago. Tage got a point. Last game, they both got a point, and it was in a win. So, and also Tuck was elevated to the top power play last game, I believe. All those guys are top power play, top line mates. And I'm going, 2 out of 3 wins. This is rock, paper, scissors. I'm going back with those 2 guys tonight. I'm going Tage Thompson because his price isn't too different than Alex Tuck's. And Jeff Skinner, for some reason, their price went down. Like their point props were a higher minus last game on the road against Montreal. What do you think? I'm scared of this Blue Jackets team?
No.
Now, I do want to let you know, Yeah, you don't recheck that location. But regardless, that will be plus money. You'll get better odds on that at Bet365. DraftKings kind of
Plus 160 for the pair to get a point.
yes.
You
So
you want the double
those
point? Double points plus 1,100.
yes. And I am gonna what I advise these people to do, I say like, hey, you want to if that's my bet that I'm suggesting and you want to put $10 on it, put 7 or 8 on the pair to get a point, and then put the last two on the plus 1100. That's what destroyed for us the other night with McTavish and
Ah, the
Troy
Vetrano
Terry.
line and Terry line. That was it. Yeah.
Yo,
That
I
line,
got
that
news for
line
you.
is being graded as the second line, but they're the best line. Both their power play is split. So
Don't tell anybody.
okay, but
Don't
like,
tell.
yeah, it's
Well,
not for
well,
Carlson, whoever he's with, Carlson,
the
Killorn.
power play is kind of split, but not the two guys that we've been pairing.
Yeah,
And that was
it's McTavish
strategically
and Terry. No,
yeah, 100%. You want to know what? Yeah, go ahead. Daily face-off. Great work. You keep Alex Killorn on that top line as long as you want. Please do that,
yeah,
and just have the random guy, the NHL lines maker, it's Caesars or whoever, where he just does his one casual. Let me go check daily face. All right, there's a second. All right, here's the price that I got. Whatever you're doing to keep these prices what they are. Last weekend we took McTavish, Terry, 2 points each. They nailed it. The very next game, McTavish wasn't on the board. He was off the board fully.
I hate.
Just like the
Yeah,
same way. Yeah.
it's greasy sometimes. Those second guys, like Pia Suter, I've seen get off the board in Vancouver. It sucks.
I mean, but Jesus Christ, like after having a good, usually it's like, okay, this guy's lost us so much on the under. Like when I was taking Pajot and Lee earlier in the year that we got to remove him. And it was the opposite. McTavish was producing. So then he came back the next game and he did it again against Buffalo.
Yeah.
3 out of the last 4 games for the Anaheim Ducks, McTavish and Terry would have cleared the 2-point line mate combo, which is insane. They're still at plus, I believe, like 1,800 or something like that. Maybe next game will be different, but that's just something that I wanted to kind of highlight there.
I spent a lot of time betting the 2-point parlay guys, but I usually do it in a round robin with 4 games and check the doubles, the triples, and the quadruples. But it's still a profitable thing for singles if you can sit there and bet $10 for each one. Like I'm looking at mine today. If we do the Tage Thompson, Jeff Skinner, and then pair it with Connor and Villardi, and then McDavid and Hyman, and do that in doubles and triples, like the multipliers are pretty gross.
Yeah, they're incredible. They're incredible. I guess we'll get to the I guess what we like in those games more so from an individual perspective. But I like Tage and
I'm
Skinner.
Big on Buffalo today. So Buffalo is still on the dad's trip, and the dad's trip has been for a lot of teams been just really bringing support. They've also won 6 of their last 7 on the road, and this is about as bad as a schedule spot as it can be in Columbus. I looked at the schedule. I'm like, fuck, Columbus was in Anaheim on Wednesday. You're like, oh shit. And then you look at the schedule and you're like, shit, they played LA the game before Anaheim. So this is their 3rd and 4 going LA, Anaheim, and then back to Columbus. This is not a good team. I mean, the Gaudreau, if we're talking pairing, the Gaudreau and Jack Roslovic is my guy. Not
100%.
Not Boone Jenner. It's Roslovic. Yep. I like on this line. They're a sneaky little double team that you can throw in there, but I like
plus
Buffalo
2,000, and that one hit last game too. That's plus 2,000, ladies and gents. Oh, by the way, if you want to do this on your own and daily face-off, as long as you know they're correct and you apply those rules that we said before, they're not line juggling, they haven't got crushed in their last game. Well, Columbus is coming off a win in Anaheim, scored a ton of goals. They're not changing a damn thing. You're getting that Russian second line and you're getting this current top line.
The Russian second line, like, they're sometimes good to bet on. Like, if you can get it, sometimes they don't have everybody. So right now they don't have, where's Marchenko? Oh no, they got everybody. They got the Kov line. Yeah.
They got Voronkov on there?
Marchenko. They got all 3 right now. Even just those guys to score a point together, just that line together is plus 850 for 1 point.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So if you are doing this at home, if you could scroll down now to the top, to the power plays. So yeah, go to that first unit. So you're seeing Goudreau, Jenner. Now, I'm nearly certain that Roslovic was on that top power play last game. I'm going to have to go back and check maybe towards the end of the game. See, this is where you have to know the daily face-off rules. If Roslovic was on the power play for 2 periods, but they ended the game with this power play for whatever reason, it might show it here. But I do know last game, before it started, Roslovic was listed on that top power play. This would maybe, if this is correct, it would probably shift me towards a Jenner Goudreau if I was going to do a 2-point, because I'm just looking for every last chance to snag a point. And to me, a non-power play 2-point combo is just way less likely. Like,
now I'm looking at it now. Ken Johnson played 1:37 on that power play compared to 37 seconds from Roslovic. So it does look like that's correct.
Okay. So that's just something to think about. And then on the flip side, that second power play unit, it's got all those Russians. So that provides additional opportunities for that trio to nail that plus 800. So it's almost like I might sniff a little that way and throw some on this, because this game has what we like to call ruckus potential. You saw what Anaheim being on the East Coast for like a week did. They went home. We're down 4-0 immediately to Anaheim. And then once Anaheim got going, they stormed back, and there was just points all over the place. We can only hope that a similar situation presents itself on
Alex,
this.
who centers the second line? So, like, if we're getting a sniff here on these guys, so it is Voronkov. So this is a tough spot. So, like, do you go Chinnikov or do you go Marchenko? You probably want to take the center on the 2 pair. But, like, I would hate so much to hit this at, like to miss this at 35-1 because I didn't take the right winger. So in my greasy state, I would probably do 3 bets. I would probably go Chinnikov, Varenkov, whatever, $5-10 for 35-1 plus 3,500. And then I would go and I would just double up everything. Then I would go Chinnikov and Marchenko 35-1. And then I would go Marchenko and Voronkov for plus 4,000.
Yes,
right? I would hate to miss one of those.
This is called the roulette approach, people. This is what you have to do. Yeah. I mean, if you come to this video and I just say, all right, yeah, these 2 line mates, when I think a game could go off, the other night in that game, I could show you a slew of 40 tickets. I also did 2 points from one guy on each side. So I did 2 for Goudreau, with 2 for Terry, and then 2 for Vetrano, with 2 for McDavid. And I'm talking about just $5, $8, and if a few hit, it covers all of them and a mountain more. So, yes, do you see how the people, I guess more so, Alex, I think I need the betting board than the actual roulette wheel. Yeah, but when you have to.
Littered, absolutely littered.
Yeah, the littered board. You ever play roulette? I'm not a huge casino.
I hate it. I'm a blackjack guy for sure.
It's just a disgusting. People just putting their paws and mitts, the way they slam the chips. Do you want to know what I do? I wait until like just about everybody's done, and I look at them. I'm like, this guy does not look like he's lived a lucky life.
You handicap the board. You handicap the board instead of the actual game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy, I'm looking at his face. He has not had a profitable life. Things haven't been going well for him. I'm taking the 14. I'm anything that isn't bet on except for zeros, because that's a real prick move. Anyway, so
certainly some sniffs on the Russian line there. I think for those numbers, 40-1, like it doesn't. You don't see that. Like I play when I see a 3-game set, like it gets ugly. So I'll go that line all a point plus Chicago top line all a point, and then the other dog, Minnesota top line, all a point. I'll start there. And then I'll go favorites, their top lines for a point. And then I've been experimenting on both top lines to score 1 point. It kind of works out to the same odds as the 2-point parlay and trying to work it that way. I still think the 2-point parlay, I've been doing it for like a month and a half now. I think it's the most profitable one.
I misread your tweet, by the way. I thought your tweet was about just taking all 3 line mates. I didn't know it was all 3 line mates on both teams.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were just. I made a stupid comment then. I was saying that
Oh, it's all good.
I would rather do multiple 2 pieces just because the odds of all 3 connecting on a goal, it always seems like a defenseman's involved. So now to get all 3 line
St.
mates,
Louis
you need
yesterday,
2 goals.
the Kyrou, Thomas, and Buchnevich hit back-to-back times with the triple.
Instantly. I mean, that's got to be a great feeling, right? Just like 35 seconds.
But even just this Buffalo game, Tuck, Skinner, Thompson, and then the top line of Roslovic, Jenner, and Gaudreau for 1 point each is plus 1,600.
That's amazing.
Right? Like, that can theoretically be done in 2 goals.
You know, guys, just put a little spritz here, though. Just $1 on everything that we've talked about here. And if one hits, there it is right there.
Yeah,
that's what you need to be doing. And you see, maybe if they all go for 2 points, it's on red 3 there where the arrow's pointing to. If they all go for 2 tonight in that junk game, all right, so if I was betting this board, if I saw this, my goodness, there's not even. So I would hit Black 33 with that lone chip on it. I would hit, I would go for whatever would make people lose the most, essentially, is what I would go for right there. Anyway,
0,
let's take single. Oh, by the way, quick funny story. I was 18 years old. Didn't really gamble because you can't in the United States, but I went to Montreal, as many New Yorkers do, to get your 21-year-old experience at 18.
To go to Club Super Sex. Yeah. Never been.
Never heard of such a place.
Never heard of it.
So I went to Casino de Montreal. The first thing I found funny as an 18-year-old was they just have war. It's a guy looking at you, and you look right back at him. He slaps the card down in front of you and in front of him, and he goes, I guess I won, and just takes it. It is the most idiot. Like, you really feel like I'm human beings. There's no way we're sophisticated. A guy's putting a number on a table. He's looking at my number, looking at his number, and goes, I'm going to take the money. It is one of the most idiotic games ever. But then I learned that Canadian roulette boards only have 1 0.
Yeah, I've never seen the double. Yeah, just 1 green number because we're nice.
And in a weird lesson about like life, they have an American roulette board in Casino de Montreal. And I'm young. So what do you do when you're young? You bet the outsides. That's what's the insides? I don't know what the hell that is. And I was betting red. If I played on the Canadian board, which has better odds, I lost every time. On the American board with worse odds, I won 1,800 and then 1,000. And guys, I don't come from some rich family. 1,800. To me, that lasted 5 years at that time. 18 years old. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't betting big. I was like $5. And I won so many in a row at the worst board. Like it's like it was a weird lesson. Like, have faith in the American board with the worst odds. It was the wildest thing. So that was my introduction to roulette Canada and Casino de Montreal.
War.
All right, so now let's take a quick. What is that? Some AI? Is that some new AI blackjack picture?
I believe Casino War, bud.
Oh, I thought that was the first round of blackjack, and they were showing a 6, and everyone got excited just to reveal.
Yeah, I don't even care what I have in my hand. That just gets me excited when I see that 6.
Yeah, seriously. No, see, this is too sophisticated, Alex. When it's 1-on-1 and you're just looking at a guy and he puts the card in front of you and it's just you and him, that's when you feel like a real low life. Anyway, going back to the final game we haven't talked about, this is another one that if you've seen some of these Minnesota games, how their game went down against Vancouver, then they went into Winnipeg, scored a bunch of goals. We were early to the Edmonton overtrain. They showed the first signs of it by conceding more. They went into All-Star break, two or fewer.
When they're winning, it's under, and when they're playing 500 hockey, it's over hockey.
Yeah, exactly. They came out of break. When I saw them lose 4-0 to the Kings, I'm like, all right, maybe that's just some weird, they just came out sloppy. But then you were starting to see it. They gave up. They were going in a back and forth game with Anaheim right after that. Then we took the over in the St. Louis game, and now it's just been overs every single game. It's still at 6.5, but we'll talk about some other stuff there. I just believe that one of these two games we're talking about is going to provide the opportunities. I don't know if it's going to be this one or the other one, but if you look at how these two teams have been playing lately, I guess the regular guy, the Dan or the Joe Blows out there, would think this is a guaranteed over. But
yeah, it's, minus 130 is a price to pay, but I'd rather take, like, looking at dogs today. Minnesota plus 154, 155. It's not a bad look. Like, Edmonton's a 500 hockey team since coming back. Calvin Pickard is penciled in to play this. They have to play Calgary tomorrow in the Battle of Alberta on Hockey Night in Canada. That's a big game. Minnesota has been a much better team of late, especially coming off the confidence of that Vancouver thrashing, whatever that was on Monday.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to like. That's a big number for a team that Minnesota that we know can score goals. And
yeah.
Flower probably won't be in net, which is probably a good thing for Minnesota backers.
Speaking of lines, by the way, that Eriksson Ek Boldy Kaprizov line is they're really operating. So not too dissimilarly to the last game.
Plus 155 for the trio to get a point. Not a bad sniff.
Yes. So many people probably won't be able to do that with Kaprizov because they usually list him at 1.5. Here's my personal theory on when you see a guy listed at 1.5. If I am going to take all members of a line, that's not my favorite thing to do because of what I just talked about, needing 2 points, unless one of them is listed at 1.5. I'm actually more likely to take a line fully across the board on a team when someone is listed at 1.5 for the same exact reason I said that I don't like, because you need 2 goals. I don't think, unless you're talking about, I would love to know the math. Nobody's ever going to figure it out. But if I had to guess the amount of goals that are scored by a top line or any line, that all 3 get a point on under a quarter of them, I'd say. Probably.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this over the last few days, actually. I would put it at about maybe 1 in 10 total goals that all 3. So, 10 to 15%, I would think. Quarter's tough to get them all. Like, to get that line to score, probably 66%, and then somewhere around to get them all.
No, I'm saying if the line does score, what is the percent chance that all 3
probably
of them
much closer to 25%? Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
But Kaprizov to hit is over 1.5. Ek to 1. Boldy 1 is plus 350 at Bet365.
So my thought is that if you need to, I think you need 2 goals at least 75% of the time. So if that is the case, then I don't get deterred. I don't bet a full line unless or another snake trick that I use is I'll take the guy who has the best assist price for an assist, and then the other 2 guys for their point. Like last night, I would have done that with Kyrou, and I would have put it like, Thomas and Bushnevich for a point or something like that. That's another way you can kind of snake. So if are you on the you're on the assist,
that's
right?
The assist,
these have to be assist prices. So if we went down, and my guess is like either Eriksson Ek or Boldy.
Eriksson Ek plus 130, and then Boldy would be plus 130. So now you got a decision to make.
I would go with the center. That's the tiebreaker for me. So I would go like with Eriksson Ek. I mean, these are just, if your mind is just calculating in different ways, these are the different types of things you can do to get those prices up. But I do not mind that line all getting points with the over 1.5. You're going to need 2 goals anyway, in my opinion. So there's that. Edmonton, they're one of these teams that they're in between what I was talking about with the, if the Lightning say Cirelli's on the top line, it means nothing. They'll stick with something if it's working, but my God, they change lines a lot.
Yeah.
They do. You just have to fear if it
And
happens in
it's
game or
it's a
not.
tough team to find any value in the 2-point market too, just because like Bedard right now, I'm staring at minus 120 for 2 points. He'll probably get there, but like right now, Ryan Nugent Hopkins is dealing with an illness. He was out. It was Warren Fogle, McDavid, and Hyman on the top line. Fogle had 2 goals, which was pretty impressive. But even if you just go McDavid and Hyman, you're looking at plus 400, which is kind of tough to swallow. I'm not seeing any markets for Fogle points.
Hey, I sneaky one. This is just a correlation play. They're not line mates, but to me, when one of the best power plays of all time clicks, and you got Draisaitl on an island by himself on the second line. So if he's going to hit 2 points, my thought is,
Evander
as
Kane.
coming on the power play, what's Bouchard and Draisaitl get you for 2
Okay.
points?
Bouchard and Draisaitl is plus 600 for 2 points each.
Jesus Christ.
That's
There's no deals up there in Edmonton. You think, you go up there, you could find a deal or two somewhere, but
if Evander Kane stays on that power play unit, he's playing with Draisaitl. That's probably your sniff. I mean, Draisaitl and Kane at plus 750. It's tough. I don't know if I love it.
You really like to see those 3 digits, don't you? When you
really do, and it's like it sucks. Like guys like Montreal, like there's no one else to go on other than Suzuki and Slafkovsky, who are now, they used to be like plus 1800, are now like plus 650. It's a battle, and you're doing it right when each day you come back to the same markets and they're getting shorter.
Yeah, I'm really seeing that. That's hitting me hard. That's hitting me real hard. I thought maybe Robertson and Hintz last night, just looking beforehand, because games with Ottawa sometimes can go wild, but no, awful prices across the board with that line. They might be on to us.
When I first started it and hit a big one, I had Aho and Svechnikov at plus 1,000.
Oh, did that happen to be? I'm just going to take a guess. Was it the Washington game?
I forget which. I can't even remember.
Was it this season?
Yeah, but it was like a month and a half ago, before the All-Star game.
I'm telling you, I think it was that Washington game. I was actually in Atlantic City. I haven't been there in like 10 years. I was showing my younger brother for the first time, and then we watched some hockey, and we did. A college kid, you really put in some wild ones. We did Burns, Svechnikov, and Aho, and oh man, we were having the time because they hit it in the third on a bunch of power plays. It was awesome.
I'll take some of that. But in this spot, Fogle does have a shot on goal market that I'll hit. You might want to wait until Nugent Hopkins is out, but if Nugent Hopkins is out, there's some things to like about it. And Bouchard, like I said, you mentioned him on the power play. Minnesota takes penalties at a bottom 6 rate, so there should be opportunities for Bouchard in the power play to point and take shots. And Bouchard, like I said, 18 shot attempts last game, which is bananas. 16 of those coming at 5-on-5. His over 2.5 shots is like minus 120, so it's manageable. That's kind of what I'm on in this game. That game of Minnesota money line. Minnesota money line, Fogle over 2.5 shots, Bouchard over 2.5 shots, and then I've invested in the Boldy, Eck 2 points. I've invested in fucking Hyman and McDavid, sadly, at plus 400. But
Alex, do me a favor. Scroll up and go to the right. Is there team totals? If you keep going, the last tab.
Where are you going?
I think I'm curious to see what
Minnesota's team total is.
Yeah.
Plus 160. Wild.
So if they're going to win that game,
probably scoring 4.
I guess it's the same price as
yeah, but that's you're right? There's correlation between that price and the money line price.
That game, I would say they need 5.
Yeah, no, there's that game. Like we could see some wild goals in that game, in the Columbus game too. Like I wouldn't be surprised if either of them finished 4-5, like 5-4.
Yeah, one of these games
is going to go off, like you said.
I just imagine that. Imagine 2-1 and 3-2. It just doesn't feel that way. Not on a Friday night. I have a theory about drunk crowds on Friday nights and why those games always tend to be really wacky. Anyway, I think I think that's quite a few selections for people to click into their tickets tonight. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention that maybe I
No,
overlooked or anything
we'll
like
just
that?
give the Pirates a little rundown on a 40-minute show. As they're like, just give us our shit quick so we can get out of here because the
They can
Pirates and
eat
the Dans
shit.
need their place, bud.
Okay, you guys will get what I give you, and you'll take it when I give it to you. You're not calling the
what a nice
shots around here. All right, there's one captain aboard this ship, and remember, we don't operate like English noblemen. I'll throw you overboard. I will pinch
Right.
you to the sharks. So you just take what we give you, and you smile while you're doing it as well.
All right, Buffalo money line in regulation was on, but big sniff plays. Now that we've talked it into submission with the Russian second line in Columbus. I know you like the Skinner-Tage combo. I think that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go there instead of going with Tage and Tuck. Same opportunities, better price with Skinner, right?
Correct.
And now that he scored, now he's kind of got that monkey off his back. I think he's ready to get going. In the other game, I mean, Villardi's still hot. Villardi's the man right there. And if you're trying to pair him, Scheifele, he's the center, but he's not pointing right now. It's been Connor. So if you're going 2 points, I think you go with Villardi and Connor in that spot. And I do like the over in that game. And if you're looking for points on the other side, what we say, the Khrushchev Bedard point is plus 155 if you're looking to juice up something there. Yeah. And Minnesota, Edmonton. I mean, how can you slow down that line in Edmonton still? I like him to win outright. I like Bouchard, Fogle if he's there, but I mean, the biggest sniff here is that Russian line. And if that Russian line goes, like, I like paying for them. They play together. They play on the PP together. It's a game that Buffalo could give up 6 goals. Like,
they're Russian. You think they care about a few-hour time zone? Do you know what the time zone variation is in Russia? You could be in St. Petersburg and over, what the hell was the name of that city? Oh my God, it's all the way by China. It's like, it's tomorrow. It's already tomorrow when you're watching this.
I've bet on so many KHL games. I'm trying to think of that awful team it's one of the worst teams. Oh.
Is McGillney a part owner?
They're the Stars, right? I think they're called the Stars. Kunlun! Is that not it? Kunlun. Alex, bring up the map. Bring up the KHL map. Kunlun Stars, the most East Coast Russian team.
What are the... Because there's
that
another
might be
city.
A Chinese team, actually.
Well, do you remember when the KHL had a team in Croatia? And as a Croatian, I couldn't believe it. Jonathan Chichu played on it.
But then they just Joker, like Joker. It is there. It is. So the Tigers. Oh, the Stars. They are Chinese. On the right there, all the way down there. So, who are the Tigers?
Whoa! This is the KHL.
Oh, they're all over the map, bro. Yeah,
they have a team in China.
Yeah, the Kunlun Stars, bud, down there. Yeah, as I point on my own screen like a donkey.
Alex, I need to know what team that's just north of that, because that's the team I'm thinking of. I looked on the border.
It's just I think the name's there if you kind of zoom in more. Yeah, so there's 2 teams in Kazakhstan. Jokerit is what? Jokerit
Finnish.
Okay, exactly, yeah. There you go. Armour.
No. Vladivostok.
That's it. Vladivostok. That's it.
That is it. I remember the Fetisov Arena. Okay, now that satisfied my desires. My God.
Yeah, the Kunlun Stars, the Chinese team. There you go.
Man, so you think these Russians don't know how to deal with time zones? So I'm looking for them to actually show up tonight. And then
trivia for the Pirates, bud. No time zones in China. 1 time zone.
Do you know this? I heard you talking about the price of beer in Arizona at their games. Do you know that Arizona just said, no, we're not doing daylight savings time? It's the only state. They don't do it.
They're ahead of their time. They're ahead of their time.
You fast forward the clock? All right, well, cool. We'll see you later. Gotta love it. Speaking of time zones and getting the hell out of here, that's what we'll do just about now. Thank you guys. So, hey, Josh, thank you for coming on. It's always appreciated. You're always bringing something new to the table, and I know these people appreciate it. So, I mean, I appreciate it.
I mean,
I put in a grand total of 0 before I saw that you put that out there like a month and a half ago. And if I showed you the amount, like the frequency that we've hit them is unbelievably unsustainable. But I wouldn't even have this run if it wasn't for knowing that. So you please continue to do what you do, and I'll be looking. If there's anything that I need to pull you out or try to amplify, I'll do that, but not enough to the point where the sports books actually catch on. So thank you so much for coming back.
I'm looking. They've changed 35-1, and Chinnikov and Varenkov are 33-1. It went from 40 to 33-1. A little bit of money coming in on the Russians. So I know we're not doing it live, but it looks like someone's paying attention to that.
You think they're not listening?
Oh, but the Pirate ship would be rocking if the Russians get a couple. That line gets 2 points each. I'm calling it sick tomorrow.
1,000%. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. We'll always obviously be in touch. Thanks again, and good luck this weekend. All right.
All right. Cheers, Andrew. Talk soon, pal. Later.